this message, you are currently having to cope with a lot of grief as you learn to navigate a new level of self-discipline in your life. I actually just got a new deck, this Cosmic Visions, I think that's what it's called, Oracle deck, and it's funny because it's so timely. It's a deck related to death, and I've been experiencing heavy death themes in my life recently, so I thought it was very timely that this came in, and I wanted to do this reading with this Oracle deck, and I'm still kind of new and unfamiliar to it, so I'll keep this book right here and read from it. But I wanted to pull from this new deck that's really gorgeous, by the way, just to kind of go along with this energy I've been feeling, because I've been seeing a lot of grief in the collective recently, with a lot of people seeming to be experiencing their own traumas, their own loss, a lot of it being almost premature loss, like people saying like they've made plans with people or friends, like people in their families who didn't live long enough to see through these plans, and it's a lot of, so funny, I saw a swan today. This has actually been coming up a lot for me recently, is the imagery of swans, which in this deck relates to High Priestess and safe travels, where we're going through such a heavy transitional period, I would say collectively, where a lot of people are processing grief, a lot of people are releasing grief. You're seeing a lot of people being really vulnerable and expressing themselves in this way with a lot of sadness. For this transition that we're going through, it's been longer for some people than others, but specifically these past 4 years have been very transformative, where we've had to leave behind a lot so that we can become something new. And the swan definitely speaks to that with the transition and safe travels, with basically like a higher knowing of what's going to be on the other side. And actually I can read a little bit of it here. The swan, mirror card, the High Priestess, protected, good omen, clarity. The swan floats effortlessly across the glassy water, scattering droplets in elegant patterns. She is at peace with her existence and understands that which is buried deep in the wind and deep in the mind. She is your guardian for all important magical transitions and reconnections. With grace and warmth, she unlocks your unconscious and reunites it with your conscience. As she drifts to the melody of the universe, everything comes swirling back to you in a brilliant flash. You feel more connected to yourself than ever before. A glowing shield cascades down the neck of the brilliant red swan. This shield represents a protective presence in your life. The swan is an omen for safe changes. If the swan comes up when you have a decision to make, take it as an affirmation that what you feel in your mind is what your heart needs too. It represents mental clarity, wisdom, and a connection with your unconscious mind. If you've been waiting to take the plunge into something new, now is the time. So this is especially significant where there's been so much change, so much transition. A lot of you have actually been between two worlds, whether you can feel it or not, and this can show up with indecision. If you've been feeling really indecisive, a lot of you have actually been purging, especially with this grief energy, is, I don't want to say people pleasing, like it is in that sense, but it's like a deeper trauma response where a lot of you grew up like walking on eggshells, and it almost felt like existing in a minefield where it was one wrong step was going to be catastrophic. And as you navigate this, this transition, you're becoming somebody new where you don't have to act like that around other people, and it's calling you to stand in your own power in a new way. And you've basically, if this is resonating with you, you've had anything that resorts to external validation ripped away from your life. So it's basically just you and you, or you and the universe, you and God, whatever it is that, however you see this higher power, if you even believe there is one. It's just been a lot of you with yourself, and it's been you left to your own devices, seeing how you show up for yourself at the end of the day. You're being guided to really stand in your power in a way that you never have before, because you would base your decisions off of what's going on in the external, so you can basically avoid the fire, you can avoid whatever trap has been set for you. And when you're on this new path, becoming this new person, it's your world now. It's your blank canvas. There are no landmines anymore for you to step on. There are no traps set for you, because this is completely of your own creation. And there's been a heavy grief because many of you may not consciously realize it, but subconsciously you're used to and comfortable with suffering. So subconsciously you may be creating these own patterns in your life as you transition to this new version of you. And this is part of the transition. This is why you're being called to trust with that swan card. And part of why this grief is showing up in your life right now is so that you can finally get a handle on how you show up for yourself, where you may have had people dismiss your grief or your emotions in the past, or maybe not even like dismiss so much as like not even acknowledge. You may have not even mattered. So you may be used to not acknowledging yourself or seeing yourself or your feelings or any of this as worthy. So it may feel like the universe is being particularly cruel to you at this time, with whatever you're going through, with whatever kind of loss you're dealing with. But it's to keep pressing you so that you can show up for yourself. It's almost like glaringly obvious that no one else is coming to help you, is coming to save you, is going to give you a hand, and that's very specific to this time right now, because it's showing that you have the strength within you, even if you feel like you can't get off the floor type of energy, type of feeling. It's that you have had this pattern, because others dismissed you, of dismissing yourself. So you've been put into this isolation bubble, you've been dealing with so much, so that you can finally show up for yourself, so that you can finally give yourself the compassion that nobody else gave you, so that you can see that none of this depended on anybody else anyway, that you didn't need anybody but yourself to be there for you. And this is the foundation for everything that you need, stepping into this blank canvas that is your creation, because the life that you've created, the life that you're stepping into, that you're embracing, it's all about you. It's your creation, like literally, it's your art. And in that sense, is that it's only for you, and what anybody else says about it or like brings to the table regarding it is just a bonus. And this is you're going through like the hardest lesson, the hardest version of it, because then it's more or less, I'm not going to say like everything's smooth, but the path is going to feel easier because you have shouldered that heavy burden, that when everything feels like it's collapsing around you, and you know that you've got your back, that you can pick yourself up and that you can be there for yourself, everything else is going to be easier. So you're being guided to really see how you are or aren't showing up for yourself at this point in time. And to sort of go back to the beginning of this message, I mentioned something about your relationship with discipline is really being called into focus here. Again, for a lot of you who grew up like in a trauma background, you may not have a good relationship with discipline, especially a lot of you can be dealing with a lot of inner child wounding that's kind of screaming at you right now, where you're really rejecting discipline or any kind of order, because that could have been like how you were raised. Like everything was just like so much. For me, like I started working when I was 11. Like that's, you know, like you just used to like a very kind of, you know, like things just need to get done mentality, and you're like trying to unbind yourself from that. And going forward, this is part of your relationship with yourself. Which is like when you're guiding like a child, teaching them to, like a bedtime routine or that sort of thing, that it's for their own good, and to sort of like put that in perspective for yourself is to start like shaping your days, not only like your relationship with discipline, but have it be like setting yourself up for a reward. So a lot of you guys, again, like with the lack of acknowledgement, you're not used to celebrating yourself, so you're just used to doing things, checking off next. And that's where you get burnt out, and that's why you have such a rejection to the discipline. So it's like you need to treat yourself as if you're speaking to this child version of you, where it's like the little things you do are just great. So like have little goals, especially if you feel like where everything's been such like a pressure cooker lately. It's time to separate what you can do things about versus what you can't do things about when it comes to like worrying and that kind of pressure. So the things that you can't do anything about, those just have to get off the plate. You can't think about those right now. It's the things that you can take action on every day that you need to focus on. And then you break that up into whatever, like a little to-do list for the week. And for every to-do, have a reward that comes after it. You know, so it's like if your kid cleans the room, they get to play video games for an hour type of thing. Start doing that with yourself, and like really reshape this relationship that you have to discipline, so that you realize that it's all you like working towards the same end goal, and that it's that like what you're doing is all positive for you, that it's not punishment or you're not being treated like a robot, where you just exist to do things, and then you're discarded when you're no longer needed. It's you're really being called to step into this kind of like valuing yourself. I don't even want to say era. It's like this is who you need to be. You're stepping into who you need to be to live a happy and fulfilled life. And this is a really rough transition for, I'd say, most people, but especially those that are coming out of like a really traumatized background and moving into something healthy. If this resonates with you, let me know. If you'd like to book a personal reading with me, you can head to the link at the top of my page. It's in my Etsy shop. I didn't really get to show you guys these beautiful cards, but they're in the link below.